Now, my appeal greatly is to the Israelite family and Gentiles who love the Messiah and worship the Elohim of Israel. The question is, how long halt ye between two opinions? If Jah, Yah be El, then follow him. But if Baal be the Most High, then follow him. You see, we have the true set scriptural calendar of Judah versus the modern Baalim calendar or calendars of Israel today and yesterday. There's a deep message in the ancient calendars, in the ancient calendar sin of Jeroboam, king of Israel, and it's alive and well, like I said, in Israel today amongst our people who are, as I said before, utilizing the Luni-Solar Calendar. Revelation 12:9.
And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
So we see that Satan has deceived the whole world, and this has been happening ever since, from the beginning. He was deceiving mankind in the Garden of Eden, right straight up until now. So this deception is very great, right? No one responsible or no one alive today is responsible for the Luni-Solar calendars that we're following. The Luni-Solar calendar that many people follow out here in the world is really the ancient Babylonian calendar. But we profess that there's a scriptural calendar that you can utilize from the scriptures that is compatible with the climate and the solar and I would guess even the lunar times of the year, but they're not based upon the astronomical observations. So we know that Jah controls the seasons.
Daniel 2, verse 20. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of Jah forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times and the seasons.
As well, the adversary has attempted to change the times and seasons that the Most High does himself.
Daniel 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until the time and times and the dividing of time.
So time is very important, and this is where the information about calendars is very, very extreme. It's vital to our salvation to understand that we meet with the Most High's appointments, just like how we meet with him on the 7-day Sabbath. And yes, we know all days are good and we can pray to him and all days are good, but there's only one day out of the weekly cycle that is proclaimed holy by the Most High. And this is why we meet with him at these times. And you can see that in this world, whether it's the Gregorian calendar, the Luni-Solar calendar, the Enoch calendar, the Mazzaroth calendar, or any other calendar that uses, I guess, the equinox and the solstices for the beginning of seasons, they have all corrupted Jah's true times. And as I said before, the equinoxes and solstices are the middle of Jah seasons. They are not the beginning of which many, if not everyone in this world, follows today.
True.
Remember, 3.5 years or 1,260 days and 42 months are all the same thing. Time and times and the dividing of time. So the question is, again, are you following man or Messiah? Now, we know many people in the world, they're still up in the Gregorian calendar and they're, dealing with the Sunday worship. They're eating all kind of animals. They celebrate the Christmas and the Easter and all kind of other festivals like Lent and Valentine's Days with their spouses and take their kiddies out or go to Halloween parties, or with Roman Catholicism, have communion every week, praying to Mary, veneration of saints, all kind of wicked things, even utilizing wrong calendars. But the Messiah's ways, as we know, is the 7-day Sabbath. We eat only the clean animals. We celebrate the feast, Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Pentecost, trumpets, Day of Atonement, Tabernacles, and the last great day. All these festivals are celebrated by the Most High, and we don't celebrate any of the pagan festivals.
That's right.
So you hear me speak a lot about the equinox, in this lesson or even in lessons past, because we teach greatly that the equinox is not the beginning of the year, the spring equinox, or it's called the vernal equinox. When you have astronomical observations, there's dealing strictly with watching the moon and stars and adding some type of calculations to them. Now, indeed, we know that the Most High gave us the sun, moon, and stars for signs, seasons, days, and years, but He didn't give it to us for holy days or for months or for weeks. And we've noticed that all those in the world that celebrate the Most High's festivals, they do so on erroneous times, on astronomical times that are based upon a celestial sphere, that are based upon a globe that spins on its axis and moves around the sun in 365 and a quarter days. And then also it's projected into outer space. So all of these things are folly when it comes to the Most High's calendar. It's good to know that the earth is not a globe at all. And we're not going to get into, again, flat earth or anything like that today, but the earth is a plane, an unequaled plane that comes forth out of water and sits in water. So we don't follow the equinox for the beginning of seasons. Now, any calendars that use the equinoxes and solstices as the beginning of seasons are false. Any calendar that uses the solar system for time reckoning is also false. The solar system and vernal equinoxes are devices of the devil. This is a part of his great deception. There's a list here I'm going to give you of the false satanic astronomical calendars, and of course you may be able to add some other ones. The modern Gregorian and Julian calendars, the professed Hebrew Luni-Solar Calendar that utilizes a 19-year metonic cycle with lunisolar months, the professed Enoch or Enochian calendar, the King David Mazzaroth Zodiac Astronomical Calendar, the modern Abib Barley Lunisolar Calendar, where they utilize when the barley actually appears in Israel and then deal with the new moon nearest the barley. We have the ancient Egypt, Assyrian, and Babylonian calendars, which are still alive today. We have the ancient Greek and Roman calendars, still alive today as well. The Ethiopian Eastern Orthodox calendars, etc. All of these calendars and the Abib Barley Harvest Calendar are all false in the sense that they begin their seasons at the equinox. They utilize months as lunar cycles. But this is not according to the Holy Word of Scripture. So again, the spring equinox, winter solstice, autumn equinox, summer solstice. The summer solstice is the longest day of the year, of daylight, so to speak. The winter solstice is the shortest or the longest night. And then the equinoxes mean equal night, so to speak, an equal day. Now, these are moments in time. They aren't actual days or anything. They just say this happens and it'll be for like 1 minute, and it doesn't even exactly fall on the equinox. So again, this is something that is made up, man-made traditions by looking in the sky and trying to use these things to govern Jah's holy days and his seasons. It's also linked to sun worship, as you can see. So the adversary's counterfeit worship calendar reflects the reflection of his Guardian of Eden message. He did say, "Yea, hath Jah said." You see, the adversary isn't bothered if people observe the holy convocations, as long as we observe them on his counterfeit calendars. And these counterfeit calendars allow the adversary to redirect our righteous intentions of worshiping from our Elohim to him. And counterfeit calendars redirect our heartfelt worship straight to the devil. So the adversary has redesigned and declared the spring equinox and lunation of the moon, the queen of heaven, to lead potential believers from Jah's set scriptural months and set scriptural feasts. They are completely out of sync with the appointed time frames created and imposed by Jah. The word camouflage comes to mind here. Again, the adversary has attempted everything in his arsenal to deceive Jah's people, Israel, Zion, from paying allegiance to their Creator and Redeemer by meeting with him at the correct times. So it becomes quite important to know what the scriptures declare as the authentic beginning of Jah's worship year, and to honor him at the feasts and festivals on the true Israelite calendar as written in Leviticus chapter 23. When we look at just a basic diagram here of Jah's scriptural months or seasons, as opposed to the astronomical seasons, you can see that Abib, we teach, begins in February. And although many people say, oh, no, that's winter and all of that, they're absolutely wrong. And that is a part of the deception, that they think that the mid-spring equinox is the beginning of spring. But in the land of Israel, of which we govern Jah's almanac, February is quite clear to be the beginning of the year. And then we have summer beginning in May, the solstice in June, and our autumn begins in August, and mid-autumn is the equinox. Winter is November, midwinter, which they call is the beginning of astronomical winter, is in December, and again it goes around. This is Jah's true seasons and Satan's false seasons.
Nice.
So again, both of these calendars, the Gregorian, Julian, or the false lunisolar calendar, are both marks of the devil. Both calendars are Baalim calendars. And although the Gregorian Baal solar calendar is understood to be false by many Israelite and Gentile believers, the trick is that the lunisolar calendar is also false and is really the ancient moon calendar honoring both Baal and his wife Ashtoreth that was basically fully utilized by the ancient Babylonians. So I want to talk a little bit about some Babylonian confusions, and let me just share a quick video here. Again, Shabbat Shalom to everyone coming in. Okay, let's look at some calendar systems of Babylon. So let's look at the satanic calendar systems of Babylon.
There are three basic calendar formats, using the movements of the sun and the moon. 1 solar, 2 lunar, 3 luni-solar. Number 1, solar, the measurement of the movement of Earth and Sun. Solar calendars use the sun for measuring the length of the year only. Months of arbitrary length have no link to nature. On the Gregorian solar calendar, weeks cycle continuously. Even leap day, every 4 years, does not disrupt the continuous weekly cycle. Lunar, the measurement of the moon's rotation. Lunar calendars are based strictly on the cycles of the moon. Months, which begin the first dawn after conjunction, cycle continuously without adjustment to the solar year. Because 12 lunations are 11 days shorter than a solar year, lunar months float through the seasons. Luni-solar, lunar months anchored to the solar year. The sun and the moon functioning together make a luni-solar calendar. Lunations are adjusted to the longer solar year by adding a 13th month 7 times in 19 years.
All
right, so what do you think about that, D?
That's a nice clip to make people aware of the various calendars that are at use today. People use to measure times in the year.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a basic understanding which should help you. Now, the Most High scriptural calendar, although it uses the sun, moon, and stars to obviously dictate when a day is and when the summer and the winter seasons are, we don't look up into the sky for months at all. The months are allotted by Jah in the Holy Bible, the beginning of each month, the ending of each month, so to speak, and how long, each month is. All of those things are found in the scriptural almanac that we profess, which again is just coming on the scene. And we pray that the Most High continue to strengthen it and open up people's eyes and understanding to these great truths. So again, let's look at the sin of Jeroboam, the religion of Israel, Samaria as well, and the false luni-solar calendar of Israel. Now, before I get into this lesson here, we're going to cover it very thorough. This is part 1 of 2, and I did this lesson a few times. But I have to say, though, this is a very important lesson because we're going to see within the Israelite community, right, that they're utilizing Jeroboam's calendar, and that the calendar we're professing is the calendar of Judah, the true scriptural almanac, and yet we have this fight. So sometimes it makes me wonder out here who truly is Benjamin and Judah, because I know a lot of people, and especially in the U.S., claim to be a part of Judah, the tribe of Judah. I guess that is just based upon some understandings, but I can tell you greatly, though, the calendar that is being utilized today is not the Judah calendar, but it's more of the Sumerian false Jeroboam Israelite calendar.
That's true.
Let's get into this now. So we're going to look at the kingdom that was divided, and make sure that you either jot down these notes of the scripture, read them yourself on your own time, compare these things, be a Berean and search the scriptures. And this is how you're going to become wiser, and how these things will start to stick in your mind. Because sometimes, you learn something, and then a week later, it's like you forget it completely. And, you want to make sure that these things stay in your mind. So you always have to go over them. Now, due to Solomon's sin, after Solomon's death, the 10 northern tribes revolted and were first overcome. So we have Israel and Samaria, the 10 tribes led by the tribe of Ephraim. They imposed Baal calf and planetary worship at Bethel and Dan. And without exception, all Israelite kings were wicked, all 19 of them. And there's a 19-year cycle when it comes to the false calendar. There were many rebellions, and these Israelites became known as Samaritans after a while. Then we have Judah and Benjamin that stuck together. The Jews, or some would say the Yahudim, or of Jewry. They preserved the line of David without break. They kept the true calendar and feasts. That's why in the New Testament it's known as the Feast of the Jews, as opposed to just Israelite feasts. And although most kings were wicked, there were some who did what was right in the eyes of Jah and restored back the true worship. The high places, though, were not removed. So again, all these kings of Israel, starting from Jeroboam right down, all 19 of them were considered wicked in the scriptures. None of them moved in righteousness or turned their heart to Jah. And the Israelites were led into captivity due to all of this wickedness. Great, great, great sins were being committed by Israel. Of course, of which know later that Judah fell into as well. The kings of Judah, we have 8 that were good. You can see on the screen, Asa was good, Jehoshaphat, Joash, Amaziah, Jotham, Hezekiah, and Josiah. But the rest of them were wicked as well. We just look at a map, and we always orient our maps with east at the top, not north, because east is the prime scriptural bearing of direction when you read your scripture. So we have west below, north and south on the sides. So we have Israel here. This is the northern part of Israel. And you can see right here where the red dot is, it says Bethel. And over here is Dan. So that's where they would put the 2 golden calves. Where the red line is, and to the right of it is where the tribe of Judah and Benjamin with some Levites were they located. And that was known as Jewry. Oh, and let me go back. This Mediterranean Sea, I always like to mention this every once in a while, it means Middle Earth Sea, because that part of the earth is the middle of the earth, and Israel is the exact center of the earth, Jerusalem in particular.
Good point to mention.
The word Medi means middle, and Terra means earth, right? So it's the Middle Earth Sea. So we're going to cover who was Jeroboam. We're going to know that he's an Ephraimite. He was the son of Nebat, and he's from the tribe of Joseph. He was a mighty man of valor. He was industrious. He had charge over all the labor of the house of Joseph. So when it says he's industrious, that means he was, he knew how to work and make things happen. He wasn't a sluggard or anything of the like. Very wise, knowledgeable of Jah things. And just when he went to work, he was, as it says, he was very industrious. Mm-hmm. He was a servant of Solomon as well. And he lifted his hand up against King Solomon and had to flee. And he became later an enemy of Solomon. Wow, D? Let's get a read.
1 Kings 11, verse 31. Behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and I will give 10 tribes to thee.
Now this is Jah talking to, I think, the prophet Nathan, who is talking to Jeroboam. And just because of Solomon's sins, like I said, the Most High liked Jeroboam, and so he decided to give him the 10 tribes.
Verse 37. And I will take thee, and thou shalt reign according to all that thy soul desireth, and shall be king over Israel. And it shall be, if thou wilt hearken unto all that I command thee, and will walk in my ways, and do that which is right in mine eyes, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as David my servant did, that I will be with thee, and will build thee a sure house, as I built for David, and will give Israel unto thee.
All right. So keeping our time frames in check, King David is dead, Solomon is still alive, and Jeroboam is now getting this message here of what's going to happen later.
Jeroboam's getting some great promises.
Great promises.
He
Yes,
keep
Steve.
up with this covenant with Jah.
That's right. I mean, Jah chose him to be king. That's a great honor. So Jeroboam becomes king over Israel. Now there's Rehoboam, who was Solomon's son, and then there's Jeroboam, who comes from Ephraim. And sometimes you can get them mixed up just because they kind of have that same syllable type of pronunciation. Jeroboam, Rehoboam. But Rehoboam is King Solomon's only son. He only had one son out of all of those women. I think there's maybe only two daughters. You would think he would have tons, but only one son. So by how the kingship goes, right? We know that once Solomon is dead, his son is going to reign. So Rehoboam inherits the throne just through bloodline, straight through. And all of these, we're going to read these verses, but I just want to kind of give you a summary before we get into it, because you know our ministry is really about trying to teach. And I know that a lot of people like to find the great exhortations and motivational type of teachings, and they have a time and place for that. But if we don't learn the truths about the Most High, then how are we going to even, kind of nurture our faith to be mature, to know that when we're giving the Most High praise, we're doing it in an authentic and learned and wise way. So it's good to know that that's how, and a lot of our lessons are long, our live lessons, but most of our short videos I try to keep them under 30 minutes. Some might go above that way. And be sure to check out tonight's video being released at 9:15 regarding the tribe of Dan, why they're left out. Now, I've plugged that. Again, let's get back to this. Rehoboam's refusal to heed the request of the northern tribes causes division. His forces told not to fight by Shemaiah, for this thing is of me, and Shemaiah is a prophet. The kingdom was divided politically, but was to remain united religiously. And Jeroboam wants to secure his rule, so he takes evil counsel. He forms a new religion for Israel. He changed the object of their worship to 2 golden calves, and we're not supposed to have any idols. And that's just like going right back to Egypt again. He changed the place of their worship, which is to Dan and Bethel. That was it. Bethel is in Ephraim. And it was a religion of convenience, to keep the believers away from going to Jerusalem to worship Jah. He changed their priesthood and made priests of all the tribes, because remember, only Levites are supposed to be priests, but whoever was close to Jeroboam and his friends, or whoever it was, it's kind of like a political rubbing shoulders here. They were able to become the priests. Jeroboam sacrificed and burned incense upon the altars at Bethel. He changed the calendar of the important feast days as well. And this is what is big about this. So let's get into the scriptural investigation.
So it looks like in all aspects, he created a counterfeit religion for Israel to follow.
That's right. A complete counterfeit based on Jah's truth. But like you said, it's a counterfeit. So it has some, aspects of truth. And when the Israelites, a lot of people kind of forget, when the Israelites were following, say they called upon Jah, or they called upon Yah as the name, or El. They, when they were following falsehood, it meant they were worshiping Baal. But even when they were following falsehood, they weren't saying, oh Baal, all the time. They would be reaching out their hands to the Most High, but they were being disobedient. And therefore, the devil kind of, as David said, it was a counterfeit religion to make people think that they're worshiping the Most High, just like it is today, right? With the mainstream religions, calling on the names and using the book and everything, but still the devil is getting the honor, or Baal. Let's continue. 1 Kings 12.
And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel were come to Shechem to make him king. And it came to pass, when Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, for he was fled from the presence of King Solomon, and Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt.
Sorry, I want to make a sorry, yeah. I just want to make a point here that Jeroboam, he lived in Egypt. So a lot of the things that he's going to be picking up in terms of falsehood are going to be carried from Egypt. And just like Israel wanted to go back to Egypt and worship their gods and all of this and that, same way is happening here. He's picking up these things.
That they sent and called him, and Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came, and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, Thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father and his heavy yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve thee. And he said unto them, Depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me. And the people departed.
So one thing that happened here is that what Solomon had put in them, he was taxing them hard, right? Because after a while, although the kingdom was very wealthy, Solomon took on all these political projects and was building temples for his wives and doing all kind of things with the other nations. So, he kind of got, not wise, but he started to tax the people hard to fund these projects and everything. And it was very grievous on the people near Solomon, the ending of Solomon's days there, because they were being taxed hard. And so as you can see, the people want to be less taxed and to take it, for the king to take it easy.
Verse 6. And King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, and said, How do ye advise that I may answer this people? And they spake unto him, saying, If thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and will serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, then they will be thy servants forever. But he forsook the counsel of the old men, which they had given him, and consulted with the young men that were grown up with him, and which stood before him. And he said unto them, What counsel give ye that we may answer this people, who have spoken to me, saying, Make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter?
All right. So rather than take the advice of the wise men who are also counsel to Solomon, this is how it happens today. Many of our ancients and the elders of us, our counsel and our wisdom is rejected by younger people, and they'd rather get it from, as you can see, just like how Rehoboam was with his brethren that he grew up with, right?
The younger and unexperienced people.
That's right. And look at what they're telling him. They're saying, hey, in order to serve the people, speak kind words, because that's what a king is supposed to do. They're not, even though the people serve the king, it's supposed to be in a proper way that you're supposed to help the people. And they said that they would love you forever, right? Be his servants. But again, as we do many times, we forsake good counsel. Continuing.
1 Kings 12, verse 10. And the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, Thus shalt thou speak unto this people that spake unto thee, saying, Thy father made our yoke heavy, but thou make it lighter unto us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, My little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins.
Wow. So complete opposite, right?
Complete opposite.
Right. Putting more pressure on them.
And now, whereas my father did lade you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father had chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the 3rd day, and as the king had appointed, saying, Come to me again the 3rd day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him, and spake to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from Jah, that he might perform his saying which Jah spake by Ahijah the Shilonite unto Rehoboam the son of Nebat.
All right, Jeroboam, right?
Yes, Jeroboam. Sorry.
Yes. So I said before I thought it was Nathan, but it's Ahijah who was the prophet who came to Jeroboam and to let him know, hey, you're going to be given the kingdom. So we see after all of this, we know that Jah had caused this to happen. So, gives us a little bit of insight how Jah does things. He makes people in their wickedness and follow their own ways, but that's even of his own doing. So he gives you over to your own ways, but not knowing that even when you're in your own evil ways, you're still doing Jah's bidding.
Yeah, it goes to that saying that like people like to say in the world sometimes is Jah or God works in mysterious ways, and this would be a good example to show that even though this was like Rehoboam rejected good counsel, yet this was of Jah to the intent that to make Jeroboam king.
That's right. Continuing.
So when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, What portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Now see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed unto their tents. But as for the children of Israel which dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. Then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute, and all Israel stoned him with stones that he died. Therefore King Rehoboam made speed to get him up to his chariot to flee to Jerusalem.
All right. So once again, we see how these things backfire on a man, right? Now the people, he wants to go collect the taxes from them and all that, which is the tribute. They ain't having none of that, right?
No.
At all. So you can see now this is where things start to become divisive amongst Israel, right? Because you see in verse 16 it says, What portion have we in David, right?
Yeah, so now they want to separate themselves.
That's right.
The house of David.
That's right. And they're gonna get their own king, so to speak, you know what I mean? But when it came to Judah and Benjamin, Rehoboam still reigned over them, 2 tribes.
Verse 19. So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. And it came to pass when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only.
And we know Benjamin also was with them that way.
That's right. And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah with the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against the house of Israel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam the son of Solomon. But the word of Jah came unto Shemaiah, the man of Jah, saying, Speak unto Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and unto all the house of Judah and Benjamin, and to the remnant of the people, saying, Thus saith Jah, Ye shall not go up, nor fight against your brethren, the children of Israel. Return every man to his house. This thing is from me. They hearkened therefore to the word of Jah, and returned to depart, according to the word of Jah.
Wow. So you see how this division basically was ready to break out into all-out war, David.
War, civil war.
That's right, civil war amongst Israel. And we do know that after a while, there were a few wars amongst them that way. So again, getting an idea, looking where things are happening. Israel is divided. This is the division line right here. Bethel, where a golden calf was put as well. And this is Jewry.
Verse 25. Then Jeroboam built Shechem in Mount Ephraim, and dwelt therein, and went out from thence and built Penuel. And Jeroboam said in his heart, Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of Jah at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again to their master, even unto Rehoboam king of Judah, and they shall kill me, and go again to Rehoboam king of Judah.
So he's trying to, work this out in his mind, and he's saying, boy, what it says? He says in his heart, in his mind, right?
Right, yes.
So he's having he's saying to himself, you know what? This kingdom could easily go back, right? So he's trying to devise something. He says if they do sacrifice in Jerusalem, they're going to definitely return back to Jah, right? And kill him.
Yeah. He's devising a plan.
That's right.
Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy Elohim, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
Wow. Sounds exactly like the words that came out of Aaron's mouth in the wilderness.
exactly like his words.
But notice here, it says that he took counsel. You understand? So he didn't just come up by himself. He was the head, kind of champion, spearheading this project here, this very evil project. But he also had counsel, and he probably took that counsel, as you know, from the young people and not the old people, right?
Right. It was very bad counsel indeed. Verse 29. And he set the one in Bethel, and the other put he in Dan. And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan.
That's right. So they would come so far, but they wouldn't go past Dan. They'd come to worship. And this is what the people did, the 10 tribes. Remember, we're talking about millions of people now, right?
Yeah.
Who are throughout these areas. And if Dan was too far for you, you can just go head up to Bethel.
This goes to show you that, if the leader is corrupt, that leader will also corrupt the people.
That's very true. And I think it says that in the scripture a few times, right? When the king is really corrupt, that's how it just rubs off on the people.
That's right. Because if the people were really, if they knew, Jah, they know that golden calf should not be worshipped, they should have just outright rebelled against this command, but they didn't.
That's right. So it wasn't that he just said, hey, we're not being religious no more. He's changing and bringing forth, as you said earlier, D, a new religion, so to speak, or a new way of worship into Israel.
Acts 7, verse 41. And they made a calf in those days, and offered sacrifice unto the idol, and rejoiced in the works of their own hands. Then Jah turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as it is written in the book of the prophets. O ye house of Israel, have ye offered to me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness?
That's right. So again, looking at this understanding, they're doing all these sacrifices and everything, but they weren't doing it to Jah. Although they were saying, they could have been saying, oh yeah, this belongs to you and this and that, but they weren't keeping his commandments. And they still were worshiping this calf, right?
Yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god Remphan, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon.
That's right. So we teach this star here that many people say is the Star of David, or related to Israel, or Magen David, or the Shield of Solomon. Whatever you want to say, it is nothing of the sort. It's six-sided. It has six small triangles, and in the middle is the six-sided hexagon, right? And you ever know when they put a hex on somebody, it's like a curse and a bad luck thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this star here, we are greatly against it that way, because it comes from ancient paganism from way back in the days anyways. And we know who uses this star as their symbol anyways in this world, right? This is their national star in the land of Israel today. But this has nothing to do with the Most High.
Not at all. And it's a shame that some Israelite groups profess to use this star as well.
That's right. I think it's Sakari wants to call this a lily. And you got to be crazy. And they're trying to use that as, because in the scriptures it speaks about the lilies in Solomon's temple. But it looked nothing like this. This is a star. This is not a flower. And just because a lily has six, six petals. Yeah. They're trying to say that's what it is. But no, siree. That's not how it goes at all. But nonetheless.
Lily doesn't have sharp angles like this star does, nor does it have a six-sided hexagram in the middle of it.
That's right. 666 all over it. If you have these things, you're wearing them, my opinion to you is get rid of it. And I'm not trying to say, grab the 7-point star that we have, because I don't have a star or wear it or anything of that nature. And maybe, I don't know if I had one, maybe I would or wouldn't. I wouldn't know. But what we're saying is that this here represents evil. And 7 is Jah's number. And 6 is highly linked to mankind, incompletion, and the devil, as you know.
And straight up satanic.
Straight satanic. And people, again, want to hold on to it. That's just how stubborn we are. But it's satanic. If you see it, being flown or being, promoted by anybody's groups or anything, I always tell you to be very aware, and not even be aware of just that group, but more likely they've been infiltrated. You understand? And that's what a lot of people don't know, is that there's a lot of infiltrations going on amongst these big groups. Even I know that many American groups have come to Canada and try to, flee from what's going on in the States and stuff like that. but it's already been tainted. And I can tell you, they are up here as well. Whoever it
Yeah.
is, the infiltrators, they exist up here. They're in Israelite groups right now. I know of them, and they might not know that I know who they are, but they know the contention that me and them have together, and I know who they are.
Yeah.
And you got to be careful. That's all I'm saying, family. This is not a game. We have imposters amongst us. We have disobedient amongst us. We have people teaching false doctrines, making up all kind of lies. And I know I can be a part of it too. Well, I'm just going to do my best to make sure everything that we deal with is so much scripture to back it up until people are tired of it and get bored of it. But it's the truth. And this is what we have to stick to. The world has been greatly deceived, and we have to come out. And I want to be a part of helping us come out. Me, Brother David, our works, and other laborers who are out there in the world as well, putting forth good works in Zion. We have to do this because the devil is being very active right now.
Well said. And the last thing to say is that these symbols are signs of false worship and false doctrine.
That's right. Let's continue with some reading.
Amos 5, verse 1. Hear ye this word which I take up against you, even a lamentation, O house of Israel. The virgin of Israel is fallen. She shall no more rise. She is forsaken upon her land. There is none to raise her up. For thus saith Jah Elohim, the city that went out by 1,000 shall leave 100, and that which went forth by 100 shall leave 10 to the house of Israel. For thus saith Jah unto the house of Israel, seek ye me, and ye shall live. But seek not Bethel, nor enter into Gilgal, and pass not to Beersheba. For Gilgal shall surely go into captivity, and Bethel shall come to naught.
And remember, that's where one of the calves were put in, Bethel, right?
That's right. Seek Jah, and ye shall live, lest he break out like fire in the house of Joseph and devour it, and there be none to quench it in Bethel. Ye who turn judgment into wormwood, and leave off righteousness in the earth. Seek him that maketh the 7 stars and Orion, and turneth the shadow of death into the morning, and maketh the day dark with night, that calleth for the waters of the sea, and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. Jah is his name. That strengtheneth the spoiled against the strong, so that the spoiled shall come again against the fortress.
All right. So I'm getting into this verse because this Amos verse here deals a lot with Baal and calf worship, and it also links it to the host of heaven, the sun, moon, and stars.
Mm-hmm.
So notice it says here, seek him that made these 7 stars, right? The 7 stars are what you would call the Big Dipper out there, right? It's a constellation formation.
Good point.
Right? And so you don't worship the stars. You don't get into astrology and whether you're Gemini, Aquarius, and all of that folly and evil and foolishness, which people seem to, especially women, love that stuff. As far as I know, they love astrology and the signs and everything. But Most High is saying, seek him. Jah is his name. Yah is his name, right? That's who we're supposed to be seeking, not these things in the sky. Continuing.
Verse 10. They hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly.
That's right, they do. So now when you kind of start talking tough to people and tell them, hey, they shouldn't be doing this sin, you got to stop eating, unclean meat, you got to keep the festivals, you got to stop with the lunar calendar and everything. It says people start to begin to hate you because you're rebuking them, right? And they abhor him that speaks uprightly. And this is what's going to happen to a lot of people. Many people and messengers come and they speak some good things, rebuking us. And we just turn our neck to them or whatever it might be that way. We're very rebellious, but again, we should learn to humble ourselves. And it's good to be reproved by the Most High and rebuked, because therefore correction will come in and we'll be back aligned with the Most High.
That's right. For as much therefore as your treading is upon the poor, and ye take from him burdens of wheat. Ye have built houses of hewn stone, but ye shall not dwell in them. Ye have planted pleasant vineyards, but ye shall not drink wine of them. For I know your manifold transgressions and your mighty sins. They have afflicted the just. They take a bribe, and they turn aside the poor in the gate from their right. Therefore the prudent shall keep silence in that time, for it is an evil time. Seek good and not evil, that ye may live. And so Jah, the El of the host shall be with you as ye have spoken. Hate the evil and love the good, and establish judgment in the gate. It may be that Jah Elohim of hosts will be gracious unto the remnant of Joseph. Therefore Jah, the Elohim of hosts, Jah, thus saith, wailing shall be in all streets, and they shall say in all the highways, Alas, alas, and they shall call the husbandmen to mourning, and such as are skillful of lamentation to wailing.
That's right. So notice Jah says, seek good and not evil that you may live. We're accustomed to loving evil, right? When you've been doing it for so many years, doing the wrong thing, and then somebody shows you, even like looking at keeping the 7-day Sabbath. I remember when I first learned about the Sabbath and I wasn't keeping it before, it was challenging for me. I was almost sitting there going, man, I really wanted to hurry up and get over, because my nature wasn't used to resting at during this time. You think, time belongs to you. You could do whatever you want that way. And after a while, it just takes time. You have to taste and see what it's about. And this is why Jah talks about things like polluting his Sabbath, not just not observing it or not keeping it, but, having a bad mind frame or a bad heart, because this time is here represents great things for us in the future. So again, we have to be seeking good. We have to hate evil, as it says, and love the good. But believe it or not, we live in opposite times where people love the evil and they hate the good. Let's continue.
Verse 17. And in all vineyards shall be wailing, for I will pass through thee, saith Jah. Woe unto thee, woe unto you that desire the day of Jah. To what end is it for you? The day of Jah's darkness and not light.
So just talking about, people are like, oh, I just can't wait till the Messiah comes and, it's going to be so glorious and this and that. It's like, whoa, why are you desiring things first? How you so sure that you're even going to get in? Because it's going to be a day of darkness. The day of Jah, even for the saints, it will be frightening, but we'll be in Jah's, in his family. But it's almost like, like when a father is angry and shouting, you're like, whoa, he's not shouting at you, but he's shouting at other people in your family maybe. But this is not something that people always, they just want to just wait to be there when he comes. But Jah saying, woe unto you. That's destruction, because that's not the right mind frame that you should have when you're dealing with Jah. And it's not mature either. It actually leads to evil. Let's go on and see.
As if a man did flee from a lion, and a bear met him, or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall, and a serpent bit him. Shall not the day of Jah be darkness and not light? Even very dark and no brightness in it?
Wow. So it's almost like, you just Jah saying, you think you can get away from the trouble of Jah? You ran away from the lion, you got yourself together. Next thing you turn around and there's a bear that meets you, or you're running and there's a serpent getting you. No matter what, you can't get away from Jah. It's a dark time.
I despise your feast days, and I will not smell your solemn feasts.
All right, your solemn assemblies, right?
Your solemn assemblies, yes. I will not smell in your solemn assemblies.
So as you know, Jah was talking to Israel, and in particular Ephraim through Joseph, right? And remember, they're the ones who went astray with Jeroboam and all of that, with the calves and the sun, moon, and star worship. So he's saying, I hate your feasts. Jah doesn't hate his own feasts, right? Notice he says your feast days and your solemn assemblies, because they're made up for them. They're not doing it to Jah. So when you're following a lunar calendar, and I can't help but to shoot it down so much. We got to come out of this lunar month business. I don't know. It's very evil. It's very deceptive, and it's not a part of Jah's truths at all. It makes the festivals wander throughout the year. They're on different days of the year. They can even go to different months. And so these things Jah labels as your feast days. They're not his feast days that he hates. It's them.
That's right. And that's the point. Yes. Verse 22. Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them. Neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts.
See, this is that's crucial. So people, he's not saying that people aren't praying to Jah or aren't offering him or not trying to live for him. It says, though you do these things, though you recognize me as who I am and all of this, he says, I won't accept that worship.
Exactly.
That's crucial.
It's not done in spirit and in truth.
That's right. It's not done in spirit and truth. So, but people still, oh, I love God. God watches over me, and they post on their, status and all of this and that. Oh, God has blessed them and bless, and all of that. But again, this has nothing to do just saying I don't regard your worship, right? When it says peace offerings, all of this is forms of worship.
That's right. It's just like trying to worship Jah on Sunday, right? We know that Jah doesn't regard Sunday as a holy day, but yet people might have a good intention to worship Jah on that day, but Jah doesn't regard it.
That's right, D. Good point. You can rest all you want on the Sunday. Once you're not recognizing Jah's Sabbath, you're just not recognizing Jah.
Verse 23, take thou away from me the noise of thy songs, and I will not hear the melody of thy viols.
You see that? So Jah's talking again about them. So they may be singing great songs to Jah. This is what he's talking, He doesn't want to hear no songs towards him and, all of these things, because I'm not hearing these things Jah is saying. So people can sing to Jah all they want and it sounds nice and get all passionate and in themselves and catch their feelings and everything. But Jah's not hearing it. You might hear and feel it, but Jah's not.
Jah won't even hear those songs of praise to him.
No, he won't even listen to those things because the people who are dealing with it, they're not really worshiping him. This is the deception. The devil makes people feel like they're worshiping Jah. They will cry. They will go to church on Sunday and come up to the altar and talk about their sorrow and everything. Yet they're not even repenting to Jah. They're going to still, after that, go back out, do what they want, not recognize his commandments, and not get into his word. And I know a lot of people like, oh, here's this commandment talk again. But we keep the commandments to show our love to Jah, right? Not to, verify ourselves or validate ourselves before him and say, look how good we are, because we're not good. We can't even keep the law perfectly, but we know what sin is. And Jah says sin is transgression of the law. So if we love him, we must keep his commandments. Otherwise, Jah doesn't hear none of our worship. Look at this. I hate your stuff. Even though their stuff has Jah's name in it, he's not recognizing it. God, the Lord, Yah, Yahweh, Elohim, whatever title somebody wants to come with, it doesn't matter. It's not done in spirit and truth. It's not done right.
Verse 24, but let judgment run down as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream. Have ye offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel? But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch, and Chiun, your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves.
That's right. Everything is for themselves, right? If we look at the definition of Moloch, right, it just means king. It's like Melech as well, can mean angel or messenger, but it is the name of the god, the idol god of the Ammonites, right? And if you even you ever seen, David, those big statues like on Easter Island, they call them the Olmecs?
Yes, the big heads
and everything. Yeah. When you switch up those letters around, it's really Molech. And that's ancient. Those are ancient statues of worshiping Molech. The people who did that, they call them the Olmecs, but it's really dealing with Molech.
Wow.
Something we can talk about another time still, but yes. Right. So, they have all these different types of, whether it's a head of an ox or human arms, whatever it might be, each kind of like nation, because remember, Israelites got these ways of worshiping pagan gods from other nations. They never, were given that at all.
True.
You can see with the head of an ox, you can worship Moloch. Again, an ox is a calf, right? The calf and ox.
Mm-hmm.
We know that the word for star here is astron, astronomy, right? Astron for stars, right? Or for constellations, a group of stars. And again, stay away from this. Anybody's showing you this symbol there. I mean, I'm not trying to say that if they have that, it means they're absolute devil worshippers, but as I said before, probably there's something off there.
Exodus 32, verse 4. And he received them at their hand and fashioned it with a graven tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These be thy Elohim, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to Jah.
All right, so paying attention here, they make a golden calf, right? But then he just makes up their own festival. Tomorrow is a feast to Jah, right?
Right.
Just making it up, so to speak. And this again, these are things that Jah doesn't like. You can't make up feasts to Jah and just proclaim them, especially if it's based upon solar and lunar observations. This was a great sin for Aaron and Israel.
Verse 6. And they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play. 1 Corinthians 10, verse 7. Neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play.
That's right. So when it's saying these things, we're not talking about little children here, right, David? We're talking about grown folks, and we know what it can mean to play still, you know what I mean, when it comes to men and women and stuff like that, right?
That's right.
You know, or to do your own thing and do things of pleasure and all of that. And if you know that even Aaron made them naked in front of the mixed multitude as well, right, to discover their shame. But they're called idolaters, right? Meaning that they're worshiping idols somehow. And what it is they're worshiping basically the god of pleasure, right?
That's right.
Call that Mammon, or sorry, D?
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's interesting because, you know, idol worship, you know, sexuality is always involved when it comes to idol worship. And then that's why going into that, when they rose up to play, you can imagine that, you know, sexuality was involved in this worship here.
That's right. Basically, it sounds like they were partying. You know what I mean? You know, they just had a good time, waking up every day, doing their own thing. But again, idolation. So let's look at this word too. I think I got the definition of it from Strong's there. Strong's idolatres, idolaters, a worshiper of false gods, use of anyone, even Christian, participant in any way in the worship of the heathen, especially one who attends their sacrificial feasts and eats of the remains of offered victims, a covetous man or a worshiper of Mammon. So when people are dealing with pagan feasts and you want to keep so-called the Most High Yah's festivals according to the lunar cycle, it's not working. Jah's not watching those feasts at all. And I pray that all those who know of Jah's almanac, that they don't turn from it and go dabble into Babylon's and Satan's calendar as well and turn back from Jah's true things. Otherwise, that could be a great curse for you. You know what I mean, D?
That's true. That's true.
I know people out there, they come to the truth and then you'd be surprised they fall away. And the reason why people fall away sometimes is, boy, not enough people there, or, you know, it's not as fiery as the other place. But I mean, just like how I think you said at one time before, when we were talking, I remember, I just wanted to bring this up. It's like we were talking about David Ray, right? And, you know, when you look on the internet, people who are looking for like great leaders and champions are looking for somebody robust and, you know, kind of like the Pastor Dowell type of image, you know what I mean? And not disrespecting him that way, but, you know, very bravado and, you know, but, you know, we see sometimes, and even a person like David some of them come humble and meek. The Messiah never came, you know, breaking down barriers, so to speak, but he was very humble and meek. And we tend to like, you know, people who are great speakers and, you know, just like how it was. Remember the Israelites, when they wanted a king, they chose Saul, right?
Yeah.
A man who was, you know, great stature amongst them and well-known, a good family, probably good looking and everything, and part of the army, right? But he wasn't the choice. It was just a little shepherd boy, King David, right? Who was meek, who became a mighty warrior by the power of Jah.
Well, I mean, you know, in the world, people like people who influence. And there's a lot of people who have the skill of influencing others because they may be good speakers or can speak with great passion, but that doesn't always mean that they're speaking truth.
That's
but
it.
Unfortunately, it catches people and it sways their minds and their hearts, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it can happen to the best of us, right? Because we're all looking for something that sounds good to our ears, especially for those who have itchy ears. But like I say, just stay simple with Jah and let Jah feed us and big us up, right? So we want to talk a little bit about the abominations of sun and moon worship here.
Before we go on, Sean, we're speaking about Jah's calendar. Faith Adams says, "Where can I find the Most High's almanac?" I think the link that you came up with a few months back is still is still there for people to get the calendar, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we can probably maybe put that in the room after.
Okay, yeah. Where can I find the most says almanac? Okay, yeah, we have it. The teacher is good, but can you slow down a bit? All right, no problem. Is this why the tribe then led out in Revelation? They entered false worship. You're gonna have to watch my video tonight. I don't want to give it away.
Yes, yes.
Um,
True. I
group.
got caught up into one in an American group.
Leading an Israelite group. Yeah, man, happens a lot. I noticed that probably about 5 or 6 groups that are in Toronto right now are led by Americans, you know. I mean, no disrespect, Americans and stuff like that. We're all brothers and everything, but I'm gonna say, but man, sometimes you just gotta keep your eyes open and ask for discernment and be very careful what's going on. Very careful.
True. Catherine 636. Not all women like astrology stuff. Please do not say that of women.
Okay,
well, yeah,
of course.
Yeah, not a knock at all women. We know that a lot of men are involved in astrology too. So that's no to all the women, of course. Not.
Yeah, and you know what, Catherine? One thing I notice is like I try to, you know, when I'm dealing with women, don't get too sensitive if I say certain things about women or men. I do know when I say things about men, stuff like that, you know, I don't hear women saying, well, not all men do that, right? But I know that when it comes to women, sometimes it could be very sensitive. And so I don't generalize. I'm not generalizing saying all women that way, as you know, but the pagan women out there, you know, that deal with things.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we know men are into it too, but I'll be honest, like, you know, those stores, they have the books, the little small books. I only see women grabbing them off the shelf. D?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that everyone might have a different experience, but
yeah,
I mean, it's not uncommon at all. I mean, it's very common.
Yes, not all women, and I mean,
all of these
please
things.
know when I say that, not all means all, or not. You know, if I say especially some women, don't feel no way. Don't feel no way. Our birthday's also satanic. Boy, you know something? I see from it comes birthday celebrations. Anytime if I look in the Holy Scriptures, all I see is that the birthday celebrations that are held by pagans all the time. I think Pharaoh had one, King Herod had one, and you know, I know that during King Herod's birthday, John the Baptist was killed. So some people, you know, I think when you start getting into cake and all of that and big things, you know, celebrations of birthdays, I think it can be quite much. And I know that most people, again, not everyone, but a lot of people, they get into the birthdays, they really do it a lot when they're adults because they feel bad for the children, right? Because when you're a child, there's nothing better than when your birthday comes around, man. You got cake, candy, it's all about you, it's your day. So, you know, I've with my children, we never celebrated birthdays, right? We acknowledge the day of birth and stuff like that, that way, you know, but we don't make a big to-do about it. And I mean, I grew up that way as well. And my wife, we all know about birthdays, and you know, it's all right, you know, to acknowledge your birthday, give Jah thanks. But just when you get into, you know, it could become like an idol thing and a vain thing if it's just too much, you know, all you that way. So I won't say people shouldn't celebrate birthdays. You know, I personally don't celebrate them. I just acknowledge it. And if you do, you know, just don't try to be paganistic about it. You know, just give Jah thanks on that day and maybe, you know, hail up somebody who knows you, I guess, or you might get the phone call from brethren and sisters and family. But I've moved out of that. So I'm not making no law you shouldn't celebrate birthdays, but I'm saying be very careful in anything that you celebrate, because more than likely, if it's not of Jah, it's been devised of the devil.
True. Acknowledge it as a day that you've turned another year, and you know, give thanks to Jah and move on. It's not a celebration or a big feast. How we may have grown up into these things, thinking that you expect a cake, you expect people to come over and pat you on your back, and you expect gifts. That's not it, you know.
That's right. Andrea puts in here, Job prayed for his children when they all had their day of for forgiveness. Yeah, I think in I think it's Job chapter 1 or 2. But yes, when they went out, every man, it says, went out on his day. And that could be interpreted differently by people, but usually it was, you know, we referring to his day as his birthday. And so Job did pray, if indeed that was birthdays it was referring to. I agree that that's what it might have been. I've heard somebody say it's something different, but you know, yeah, Job did pray for them for forgiveness. Jaron says, I don't even tell people happy birthday, but I felt it was rude. Yeah, I'll tell you something. I don't call up people or shout. I mean, to be honest, even Brother David, who I've known for many years, I really don't know his birthday at all. Are you in July, Dave, or
Yeah, I
June?
think it was July.
Okay, yeah, and I'm just saying, like, I don't even think I've ever said happy birthday to you or anything, or
Oh,
likewise, you know what I mean?
no.
Um, but like I give my mom a shout and my dad a shout, and let's give hey man, it's your day and stuff like that. But I don't even I don't say the words happy birthday for some reason. I don't know. I say hey, what's up, and let them know it's like why you're getting a little bit older now and so on and so forth. And that's me. I mean, anybody else can do it differently, um, you know. And yeah, people will think it's rude if you don't tell them happy birthday. If you don't call them, like, they might take it away. But I mean, you're here to serve Jah, right? Not people. So I don't know if I should tell them happy birthday. Yeah. Yeah, man, them say your Earth Day, your Earth strong and all kind of things. Because certain people know there's too much into it, right? So you can whatever it might be, family. I'm not gonna push it too much, but just be careful of the vanity.
Yeah.
Good questions, good talk. I forgot to look in there. That way. Let us continue. Yes.
Continue.
Yes, go ahead, D.
Deuteronomy 4, verse 19 states, Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which Jahdael hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven.
Under the whole heaven, right? So someone says for all of the nations, right, to learn to divide time and certain things for signs, seasons, days, and years.
That's right.
But nothing about giving us holy days.
Not at all. Deuteronomy 17, verse 2. If there be found among you, within any of thy gates which Jahdael giveth thee, man or woman, that hath wrought wickedness in the sight of Jahdael in transgressing his covenant, and hath gone and served other Elohims or gods, and worshipped them, either the sun or moon, or any of the hosts of heaven, which I have not commanded.
Whoa. You never commanded us to use the moon for holy days?
Not at all.
What about the sun?
Nope.
Any of the hosts of heaven?
Any of the hosts of heaven.
Because when you worship John on holy days, it's because you're obeying his commandments. And when people worship the sun, moon, and stars back in the day and still today, is they have special days that are dealing with solar cycles or lunar cycles. And one of the great solar cycle festivals, two of them you should know, are Christmas and Easter, right? Christmas is dealing with the winter solstice, and Easter is dealing with the spring equinox and Easter bunnies and Astarte and Ashtoreth and all kind of paganism that is linked to the moon. And then when the moon is full, you're going to say that's a holy day because you're going to see the moon and look at the moon. Why? John never commanded nothing like that. So let's be very careful of these things.
Verse 4. And it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true, and the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought in Israel. Then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman which hath committed that wicked thing unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and shall stone them with stones till they die.
That's right.
Oh.
It's a very serious thing here. These are abominations. But I know some people will say, well, we're not really worshiping the moon or the sun. We're just keeping the festivals according to those cycles. And
that's the deception right there.
I think that's what y'all's talking about, this is what it's all about, right? Because the Babylonians used the same lunar cycle that the Israelites today and Christians who are using today. Not only Israelites today, Christians use it as well in terms of those who keep the festivals. They use the lunar cycle. And I mean, John never commanded any of those things. Those are Babylonian things that the Babylonians utilized. And Babylon is the exact opposite of Zion and Israel. And I'm amazed. Like, you have to do this. Say, to anybody who knows calendars and anything, say, well, let's type in Babylonian calendar, and then let's type in Israelite calendar, Jewish calendar, Luni-Solar calendar, Hebrew calendar, whatever you want to call it. It goes by different names and disguises, right? And you'll see that they're the same thing. There's nothing different. And you could ask one of your leaders, mores or teachers or rabbis, and say, hey, how come the same festivals that we're keeping, on the lunar calendar is the same ones that the Babylonians kept anciently and worshipped their gods at the same time, even with the equinox, solstice, and all of these things? How come it's exactly the same, but we just say it's different? And, I'm just going to say, well, those are different. He gave it to us. But he never gave us a solar lunar calendar that way, or lunisolar months at all in the scriptures. And this is what our ministry is all about, making sure people come out of the paganism of looking up in the sky or following other people look up in the sky and not looking in your scripture, or people who are showing you things from the scripture, right?
That's right. And I mean, Israel fell into these things and Jah severely punished them for it. I mean, doesn't the scripture speak about Jah raising back up the bones of these wicked kings and priests of Israel who turned their backs to the temple and worshiped the sun and made cakes to the Queen of Heaven?
That's right.
People are going to be judged. They're not getting into Jah's kingdom.
No, you can't. And listen, I pray that Jah's mercy goes far, but just like back in the days, 8 people were saved, and we know it's not going to be 8 people saved this time when the Messiah comes. It's going to be a lot more. But for example's sake is that, yes, there's a lot of people who disrespect the Most High's festivals, especially when they know what's going on, or his Sabbath day, or his commandments. They're just, not going to be a part of Jah's kingdom, and they need to repent. I'm not going to be at the gate letting them in or not, but I do know that the Most High sent people out there to teach people to repent from their sins, not to continue in them. So these are all calendars of confusion. Now I have, what time is it here?
6:40.
Okay, let me see if I can show this quick little video, or do I want to move on, save it for part 2? Let me show. This is a video clip from one of my videos, and I just want to kind of get into the Babylonian aspect. So bear with me for a sec here. Okay, Babylon confusion. Wait. When we look in Jeremiah 51, we read this in verse 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of Jah's revenge. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon has been a golden cup in Jah's hand, and that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. So we see in the Old Testament, we were warned back then to come out of Babylon. And Babylon is made up of false religions, confusion, false calendars, and many of the likes. And when you look at the world empire and the world system that's going on, right from Nimrod, we start with Satan, coming with Nimrod and Babylon, going through the Egypt. Then we had the United Black Hamite and Shemite nations. We had the Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire that was headed by Nebuchadnezzar, and then later his son was Belteshazzar, who was evil. We have the Medes and the Persians, dealing with Cyrus and Darius. Of course, the Greek Empire with Alexander, Rome, and Caesar. This is Gentile Esau coming on the scene. Then now where we are with the modern United Gentile World Nations. So again, it's just Europe, Asia, Africa, Anglos, USA, the Israelis, Spanish, Portuguese, and Americas. Everyone, all the countries and nations of this world are under the system of Babylon. And then there's going to be a future revived Roman 10-nation empire in the future, of which we will see the anti-Messiah coming on the scene at the end of Gentile Babylon. So again, when you're looking at this pyramid of all the empires, just remember that every single empire, every country that ruled had their own calendar that was completely separate from the Most High's true scriptural calendar, and that they worshiped their gods on the special days on their calendars, which were based upon solar and lunar observations for the most part. Now, when we look at the false Babylon, Luni, and solar calendars up in the Revelation here, verse 8, chapter 18, we see something similar to what we just read in Jeremiah. Verse 2, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. So remember when it said Babylon is falling in Jeremiah? We see it also repeated here in Revelation. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. So we're supposed to flee, come out. So again, we see the same message in Jeremiah and in Revelation regarding Babylon and its effect, how it's drunken all the nations. And it's done this through its delicacies, as well as its times, its false calendars, and all of these other false religions. I mean, you can just take a look for yourself and compare Jeremiah 51 and Revelation 18 on your own to see the great similarity of the Old Testament understanding as it's fulfilled in the New Testament in the future. Bear in mind, when we're looking at this image of Babylon, or Babylon as an empire, it's a world empire beginning from Nebuchadnezzar going all the way down to the future 10-toed Roman kingdom. And we have, of course, Nebuchadnezzar was the head of gold. Then we had Media and Persia being the silver arms, Alexander, the Greek Empire, being the brass belly and thighs, and then the Roman Empire being the iron legs, and then the future Roman Empire was the iron feet and clay toes as well, which of course is going to be crushed, and that is at the tail end of the Gentile Babylonian Empire. You know, it's good to look at this word Babylon every once in a while, what it means. It's Strong's H894, Babel, right? And what it means basically is confusion, right? By mixing. And that's what it's dealing with. Babylon uses mixing of the truth with things that are evil, right? Or flipping it around, calling something good when it's evil, and something evil when it's good. All of this, understanding of confusion is very, very cunning. And this is how the devil does it. When we look at this word confuse, disconcert, abash, or embarrass, we can see it's a part of who Babylon is. And this is what he's doing to the Most High's, trying to do to the Most High's people, because he can't really fully accomplish it, but it's been given into his hands for a while. It means to perplex or bewilder, to make unclear or indistinct, to fail to distinguish between, to associate by mistake or to confound, to disconcert or abash, to combine without order, to jumble or disorder. In number 6 there, it says it's an archaic, an older understanding, to bring to ruin or not. So we can see again this word Babylon linked up with confusion can mean to bring things, the truth, to ruin. Although we can't kill the truth, but we can see that definitely Babylon and the devil have attempted to do it. And when we look at these synonyms, as we look at this word confuse and, disconcert and embarrass, this is how the devil works. He'll come into your group or come into your assembly or come into you in your life, work through your friends, family, or other religions to imply temporary interference with the clear working of one's mind. It's causing confusion, right? To confuse is to produce a general bewilderment, right? To just kind of set the person completely off. And to disconcert is to disturb one's mind by irritation or perplexities. And to embarrass is to cause one to be ill at ease or uncomfortable, so that one's usual judgment and presence of mind deserts one. So all of these tactics, family, I want you to know is what's coming at us. So anytime you're dealing with scriptural truths, do know that the evil of this world has come to confuse, has come to disconcert, has come to embarrass, has basically come to draw you in to Babylon to be partakers of her sins. All right. Was that clear there, D?
Yeah, man, it's a good breakdown of the word Babel and what it means to be confused.
For sure. Yes, that's what the devil is a part of great confusion.
Because when you're confused, you can't discern between what the truth is and what the falsehood is.
That's right. Even if it's presented to you, again, it's just a mixture, right?
That's right.
What you see in front of you here is, if you Google Yahweh and his Asherah, or Yahweh of Samaria, and look for this image, they found this archaeological discovery on a piece of potsherd or a broken pot piece or something of that nature. And it has two calves. One is a male calf they would call Yahweh, is the male. And then they would have the female, Yahweh's wife, Asherah. And they would even spell this with Yahweh's was a Yawawi. Now, I just want to show you what they show in this depiction. They say it's a drawing of Yahweh of Samaria and his Asherah on pottery shard. In Hebrew, it reads, "Thus say to Yahel, and I bless you herewith, have blessed you, two before Yahweh of Samaria and his Asherah." So this was found, of course, in the land of Israel, but you can tell this is linked to the 10 tribes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yahweh of Samaria. See, there were many Yagas, they would say, throughout the lands of Egypt, Canaan, and Assyria. And in this discovery, Yahweh is associated with the moon god in Egypt, with the heifer cow gods of Jeroboam, and with the goat gods as well. Mm-hmm. It's the God of Samaria, and the 10 tribes adopted this into their worship through evil kings until this very day. So all of these things are things that this is here. I didn't change up any words. This will be found in when you search up this term here, Yahweh and his Asherah. But I just want to again remind yourself of these two scriptures here, Dean.
1 Kings 12, verse 28. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, "It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold, thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt." 1 Kings 12, verse 33. So he offered upon the altar which he had made in Bethel the 15th day of the 8th month, even in the month which he had devised of his own heart, and ordained a feast unto the children of Israel. And he offered upon the altar the burnt incense.
That's right. So again, this is pertaining to this Yahweh, Asherah, and of course Jeroboam. But we're still reading in Jeroboam, and I want to kind of cover a little bit more for the last 10 minutes. So remember, history repeats itself.
Exodus 32, verse 4. And he received them at their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, "These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt."
Now the one below it, D, is this what you just read as well, but yes, I just wanted to focus on the "these be thy gods" part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Notice again, this is in Exodus in Aaron's time, and then now with Jeroboam's time. So these 2 times here, the calves have been brought into play, as well as false worship. Because remember, he said tomorrow's a feast of Jah, Aaron said, right?
That's right.
And then this guy, King Jeroboam here, he's making another feast that's in a different time frame than Israel. Let's continue.
1 Kings 12, verse 31. And he made a house of high places, and made priests of the lowest of the people, which were not of the sons of Levi. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Judah. And he offered upon the altar. So did he in Bethel, sacrificing unto the calves that he had made. And he placed in Bethel the priests of the high places which he has made. So he offered upon the altar which he had made in Bethel, the 15th day of the 8th month, even in the month which he had devised of his own heart, and ordained a feast unto the children of Israel. And he offered upon the altar the burnt incense.
That's right. So what's very crucial here, families, we're reading this whole story about what he's done, right? He ordains a feast in the 8th month on the 15th day of the month, like the one that's the feast that is in what? Judah. So which festival is that, David?
That's the Feast of Tabernacles.
That's right. Right. And that's celebrated on the 15th day of the 7th month, not the 8th month.
That's right.
So we can see here what Jeroboam is doing. He's shifting things. This is the first calendar shift, right? And he's doing it in the 8th month, like until the one that was in the 7th month. But the thing here, there's a great trick to this. He didn't just say, hey, everybody, forget about the 7th month. Let's go to the 8th month. What he did is he shifted the whole calendar to move and adjusted it to the lunar cycle so that they would think that the 8th moon was the 7th month or something like that, of that nature. You know what I mean?
Right. Therefore, causing the people to sin.
That's right.
Worshipping Jah on days that were not ordained by Jah at all.
That's right. That's right. So it says, and walked in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin wherewith he made, as you said, David, Israel to what?
Sin.
See, the act of worshiping on unsanctified feast days was the most catastrophic blunder ancient Israel ever made. It's a sin so grievous that over and over again, the wickedness of succeeding kings was measured against it. Repeatedly, these words appear in the scriptures about this continual error and separation from Jah. We read in 1 Kings and all of the other verses you see, we read these repeated words. And he did evil in the sight of Jah and walked in the way of Jeroboam and in his sin wherewith he made Israel to sin. So we can see that this calendar error, this calendar sin was kept up all the way through Israel, through all the 19 false kings or evil kings, and it's even with us today. And we'll show that. And I don't know if we'll get to covering everything in the next 7 minutes at all, because there's so much to show. There's his part too, but I want to make sure we get to a certain point. So again, this sin is alive and well today in the false solar and lunisolar calendars that many say is the true calendar. Okay, so let's take a look at this. What you see on your screen is the season: spring, summer, autumn, winter, or you can call spring the latter rains, right? You can call autumn seed time, and winter would be the early rains. Doesn't matter, but these are the common understandings. So we have the true month order from 1 to 12, right? This is Jah's almanac. And on the Gregorian calendar, Jah's true month order. So the first month of Jah's almanac is equivalent to February. The second month is equivalent to March, so on and so forth, as you can see. But notice here, the seventh month, right? The seventh month right here is equivalent to August, right? So again, 1st of February, 7th to August. The 8th month is equivalent to September, the mid-autumn equinox. The 9th month to October. Now, some people say, hey, September, that means the 7th month, but it actually means the 7th moon. And Jah's almanac is not a lunar calendar.
That's right.
So when we kind of compile the names of Jah's months, first month is February, equivalent to Abib, Abibuary. Second month is March, it's Ziph. And remember, these are all the equinoxes and solstices. So you can see under the month names here that the 7th month equivalent to August is Ethanim. The 8th month is equivalent to September and it's called Bull. And this is where we are now.
That's right.
So right now, as you know, at the beginning of this lesson, this is what, the 19th day of Bull, right?
That's correct.
And Bull is the 8th month, right? And so when it comes to the lunisolar calendar, because it wanders around so much, it's always going to be around the midpoint, right, of September that way. But this is what has happened is that with Jeroboam's falsehood, so look at here, I'm just showing here at the far right, Abib, or February, is equivalent to the 12th month for them. And so we see that the first month of the year in the Abib and the Jeroboam calendar is equivalent to Nisan or the spring equinox. And we teach that the equinoxes and solstices are pagan times to worship the sun god, Christmas and Easter being prime. So even the term Nisan is equivalent to a Babylonian god of the sun, moon, and stars. So then we have April, Sivan. We go to even now the June, the midsummer solstice on the evil calendar, it's equivalent to Tammuz, right? And Tammuz is a pagan god as well. And you even see that when they have the mid-autumn equinox, September, it's equivalent, they call it Tishri right now, which is not even a scriptural term. It's really supposed to be what? Ethanim, right here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what we see is that although we kept the festival in August, we kept tabernacles in August, now Jeroboam's people, they're going to be keeping the tabernacles in September, right? False tabernacles. And they're keeping it again with the Israeli Gentiles and all those who consider themselves Jewish, so to speak, but they're all doing the same thing. And remember, they're linked to Babylon greatly. So we can see Jeroboam's calendar kind of coming into play right in front of our eyes. He made a festival. Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month on the 15th day of the month, right here. So what's going to happen is in September, when they have their 8th moon, which occurred a week or so ago, they're going to count to the 15th day of that moon, and it'll be in September, and they're going to have the Feast of Tabernacles. But it's the false Feast of Tabernacles. It's the Jeroboam Feast of Tabernacles. It's the Samaritan Feast of Tabernacles. It's not the tabernacles according to the Most High's true scriptural calendar or Judah.
Right. But they've been deceived to think that they are keeping this tabernacle feast in the 7th month, which is really the 8th month. They're unaware that it's really the 8th month, and it's the 7th moon of that lunar calendar that they're following.
That's right, because they begin their stuff at the March spring equinox, right? And they'll say, hey, February is in the winter. But when you follow the rain patterns of Israel, you'll see that, when it comes to summertime, it starts in May. And once you just start doing a little simple count here and there, you'll see that February indeed in Israel is when you even get your barley first being ripe, the first cuttings of it in February. Some people say, oh, no, you can't have it. But they don't check, and we've checked, and I can always check. If you go to abibofgod.com, they keep another calendar as well, but they're in Israel, and they're able to share a lot of the temperatures and climate as well. Now, I don't go by them. I just like to use them as a reference when people say the barley's not ready. And even when the barley is ready in February to slowly start to be picked, they don't agree with it. They're saying, oh, this year is off and blah, blah, blah. But the point here is that Jah's almanac is all that's in the orange and the yellow, and Jeroboam's calendar is that which is in here in the blue and the white on the right-hand side of the screen. How much time we got? In fact, we're almost over. All right. So this is how it goes. A lot of people, they put this out here, and this is what this chart says. You may have seen it before. It says these months still have the Latin numbers in their names. Sept for 7, that's right. Oct, October, octagon, octopus, 8. Nove, November. Dieci or decade, 10th decimal. So they say, so if December is the 10th month, then let's continue. That means January would be the 11th month, and February would be the 12th month, and March would be the 1st month. Oh. But this is all due to the Jeroboam calendar shift that we've been talking about. So really, these are Jeroboam's false month numbers that people are holding on to, thinking that, September is really the 7th month, even though it's the 9th month in the Gregorian calendar. And it's the 8th month of Jah's almanac.
Wow, what a deception, man.
What a deception, man. It's confusion, disconcertion, right? Coming at all angles. So September is truly the 8th month. 9th is October, and you can see on your screen as we go through. January, which is the beginning of the Gregorian year, is actually the last month of Jah's almanac. And February is the true beginning of Jah's true scriptural seasons. No, 99% of people out there who deal with calendars disagree, but they haven't taken the time to research it themselves. And I hope that you take the time to check it out on our channel. You can download the almanac. And also we have 4 books that are great and outstanding on this topic of calendars that we will be putting forth as we move through time. I mean, they've already been out since the last 23 years, but this hasn't been fully visible in the public eye yet. And so March would be truly the 2nd month, and that's where you get mid-spring. So this is how we associate all the wrongness dealing with the calendar of Jeroboam. The March is the beginning of the false equinox year. It's not the beginning of the true scriptural season. Whew. So as we showed this before, I want to give all praise to Jah and Jehoshua, our Savior, who died for our sins that we may have eternal life. Hope you gotten some understanding here from part 1 of 2 of the calendar of Jeroboam. And next Sabbath, Jah willing, we're going to even get into some further understandings linking all of this equinox stuff to calf worship. That's right, equinox and the solstices, and even this time in September, they're dealing with worshiping the calves like Jeroboam set up as well. And I know it's going to sound harsh to people who are keeping these festivals at this time, and may it sound harsh, but I'm not trying to be harsh or hateful, but this is the truth. And we've been doing this for a long time. That's 23 years, and still not much people really hold on to these things because, these things have to be investigated. And it's easier to follow big groups who are already keeping the false festivals. So I just pray that, again, Jah open up all of our eyes and understanding as we mature to walk in his ways and see these truths. Yes, D.
Yes, I'm just, I know the sister wanted a link to Jah's calendar download, so I'm going to try and post the link now.
Okay.
So that way she and anyone else who doesn't have it can get the download link.
Sure.
So I just put it in the room. Hopefully it'll go through.
All right. So Johnny says, great breakdown, Brother Sean. Good video. I can tell you spent some time in. Bless up. Again, Faith says this lesson is deep. Truth revealed by the Most High Jah. Yep. All praise to the Most High Jah, the Most High Yah, the Most High El, and his son. And David put it in the link. So if you want to get, you got that link there. If you can you click on it? Is it able to click and?
You may have to copy and paste.
Oh, but, yeah. That's a copy and paste. Okay, yes. Yes. So, bless up and thank you, everyone. Tonight at 9:15. So I guess maybe about 2 hours. I'm just going to have a video. It's about 20 minutes long on the tribe of Dan. I mean, I spoke about this many times. I've actually did focus on the tribe of Dan, why they were missing in one of my lessons online. And I think I only spent a minute on it, David, like 1 minute. But, when you do the research, it becomes a very important topic. And so.
But it's worthy of a highlight. And I'm glad that you put something together for the people. And I look forward to it as well. I'll probably watch it when I come over tonight.
Yeah, man. So otherwise, though, bless up. Have a good week, everyone. Keep the commandments, keep the faith. If you have any comments or questions, you can put it in the chat, or you can put it in the comments section as well on the channel, or email me at zionofjah@gmail.com. All right. You want to type that in there for me, D? You can.
Yes.
zionofjah@email.com. Yes. Thanks, everyone, again for tuning in. Greatly appreciated. Hey, you want to see something, D? Do you mind if I show you something quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
People, hey, so, all right, check this out. This is something that's going on right now. And this is called, the Moon Festival, but it's also known as the Mid-Autumn Festival. And I just want to give you a little bit of a heads up on it. Now, the Moon Festival, also known as the Mid-Autumn Festival or the Lantern Festival, takes place each year on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month. I have not changed anything. This is something that I got online. I want you to read it again. Now, this is celebrated by Chinese people and Asians. The Moon Festival, also known as the Mid-Autumn Festival, know what it's called, or the Lantern Festival, takes place on each year on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month. This is the date of the autumn equinox, when the full moon is at the farthest point from the earth and hence appears bright and completely round. Traditionally, the Moon Festival marks the end of the summer harvest. To the farmers of China, the festival is a celebration of thankfulness for heaven's bounty. The moon cakes are a part of this specific activity, right? Moon cakes. But check this out too.
Wow, man.
So this is, again, people have the Happy Moon Festival that's going to be taking place, and people will be saying Happy Tabernacles at this Moon Festival. But may the Mid-Autumn Festival bring along with it good fortune and harvest of smiles for you and your family. So again, it says here in the Moon Festival in China, it's a September equinox custom. The Mid-Autumn Festival, also known as the Moon Festival, is celebrated in Chinese and Vietnamese communities all over the world on the day of the harvest moon, which is the full moon closest to the spring September equinox.
Wow.
The Moon Festival celebrates the abundance of the summer's harvest, and people serve mooncake filled with lotus fruit, sesame seeds, duck eggs, or dried fruit. So again, this is the legend of the Mid-Autumn Festival. They call it Mid-Autumn, but they're talking about it's in September, right? Yeah, so that's all I really wanted to show. For the family and people out there that, there's something a little bit going on here with the paganism, and it's linked to other pagans throughout the world. I mean, they said, the words were, the 8th lunar month on the 15th day. You can't make that up. You know what I mean?
That's spot on, yeah.
Can't make that up, brother man. But, I humbly hope that and pray that Zion, Israel, Jew and Gentile catches it properly. Bless up. Bless up, bless up, and bless up. Let me take that off now. Yeah.
Oh, looks like yeah, man, Andrea, the proof is all around us. Yes, very true. Faith Adams. Please blow the shofar at the end. Thanks.
She likes the shofar sounding. Okay. I don't know if it's even ready to go because it didn't oil him. Praise Jah.
Praise Jah.
Right.
Brother Jaron has a comment here. Do you believe women are more in tune with the spirit than men, with intuition and even witchcraft, with tarot, psychic, and spiritual guidance? Was thinking about it, and it's interesting.
I don't know. I haven't did the survey, but one thing I can say is this: that women have to cleave to the Most High greatly, and cleave and come to before Him, just like men do. There's no difference. I'm not saying nothing. This is not about only what women have to do. This is trying to make a point here: is that the devil likes to use women as a tool to create some type of division or make a man fall, as we see with Adam and Eve, plain and simple. Now, I'm not going to say that women are more in tune with evil spirits than men at all. I couldn't say that because I don't know of that, but I do know that both men and women could have spiritual connections. We have wizards in the scriptures and wizards. We have what's it called, soothsayers, Dave, and
yeah, witches
with familiar spirits.
Both men and women are involved in these evil spiritual things. So you, as a man and a woman, have to have discernment of who you're dealing with and who you're talking with. So you just have to have your head on your shoulders and pray to discern that the person you might be dealing with is dabbling in evil or not.
All right, D. Well said. Well, I'm gonna let it stay here, everyone. One love to all. Bless up, and hopefully you can tune in. I'll be online. It'll be a premiere at 9:15, and we can watch it together. And that's it.
All right. Good work today, son. Bless up, everyone. Have a good week. May Jah strengthen you all. And until we meet each other again, keep the faith.
Shalom, brother.
Amen. Shalom.
Okay. What does Aaron say? Yes, I have to check my sexism. Yeah, no problem, brother. All right, everyone. I'm going to end this off now. Again, thanks again, and have a blessed week. Peace.